The official trailer for the second season of The Walking Dead, Dead City, was recently released. But what should we expect from this new season? Hey guys! I'm Nikki, welcome to another video. Today's I'm also going to tell you why, unfortunately, nothing about this franchise excites me in the slightest these days. Have you liked it yet? The first season of Dead City introduced us to a new adventure between Maggie and Negan in New York, but not as rivals, but as allies with the same mission, to rescue Herschel Jr. from the hands of the terrible generic villain, whose name I had to Google because I had forgotten. Known as the Crow. The first season is decent, it doesn't offend, and it's even fun, but it obviously has countless glaring flaws. Like the completely forgettable new characters, the slightly uninteresting script, the episodes that just drag on, and worst of all, the unbearable relationships between Maggie and Negan. Man! Seriously, will this little fight ever end? The two had already gotten along at least a little bit in the main series, and now this again? The audience has completely lost interest in these two being enemies. And this is terrible for both characters, because Maggie ends up coming off as annoying, for harping on about something that happened more than 7 years ago, and that has lost its meaning for the viewer. And on the other hand, we get a cowardly and puppy-like version of Negan, where he is always shy so as not to hurt Maggie's feelings. But this only becomes torturous for the viewer. But there was one thing in this series that made me want to break the TV with an axe. It was the teenage version of Herschel Jr. Seriously, this kid is the worst character in this franchise. Not even Nicholas made me as angry as Herschel Jr. And the saddest thing is to see that they ruined the best young man in the series, turning him into a spoiled, asshole teenager, including something totally gratuitous, and his reasons are not even presented, and it sounds somewhat random. Now I'm going to talk about what I expect from the second season, but I want to know your opinion too. Write in the comments what your expectations are for this new part. The story will be similar to the first season, and the two protagonists will continue to be rivals. Just like any good trailer, it delivers a criminally appealing fan service, and that, in my opinion, just shows how worn out this franchise is, desperate for visibility. And what proves what I said is Negan himself, as he will have the same personality and the same skin as his first appearance, something that initially seems incredible and nostalgic. But I imagine that they will completely ruin any and all development that the character has ever had, since he will only go back to being the villain who crushes heads with Lucille in his hands. And he will also go back to having a leadership role, almost like a king for New York City. The only things that are interesting to comment on besides Negan is the scene where Maggie holds Lucille, and honestly, this is a reflection of Hollywood's desperation for attention, and I have no doubt that she will fight Negan using the bat, and the only scene that I really thought was cool was the bear scene. And I confess that I am very curious to see how this fight will be, which will probably be Maggie fighting alongside Negan against the bear. And other than that, I think the second season will be harmless and forgettable like the first season. However, with some small things that maybe will be minimally remembered. There are a few theories floating around, one of which is that Maggie will hallucinate with the Walker of Glen. And honestly, that's extremely disappointing. Because the writers are never going to let our dear Glen rest in peace apparently. That was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and share it with that friend who's crazy about The Walking Dead. See you in the next video.